What's up, guys? Welcome to On the Block. Igor Henriquez, Joe Rafari. The bubble's done, at least the regular season of the bubble restart. And your beloved Lakers taking on Portland in the first round.
My beloved Lakers.
Now, we don't have our man Lamar Graham here. We're definitely going to hit him up after and find out his opinion. We know who we would take. But are you worried at all, seeing that, Dame has won the MVP of the bubble? He's been playing on a different level. And Portland's obviously at full strength. Carmelo Anthony's doing really good. Is there anything really that you're worried about?
I mean, overall, I think you gotta take in the fact that yes, Damian Lillard's probably been the best player in the bubble. Again, it's definitely not the usual 1-8 matchup where I don't see. I think the Lakers are favored, but I don't see the Lakers being hugely favored. I think that based on the fact that you got Nurkic back and he again is playing hard. You mentioned Carmelo Anthony. It's going to be a tough series.
CJ hit a big shot yesterday.
CJ hit a big shot. He's been dealing with some issues, some injury issues. But overall, I'm still seeing the Lakers win the series, but it's not going to be a cakewalk. Actually, I don't again, we're going to get to the rest, but I don't see any of the West matchups being a cakewalk for anybody. But I think the Lakers are going to pull it off. The only issue that I have is, again, they've been taking the foot off the gear for the last few games, knowing that they had first clenched up.
Yep.
So it might take them a game or two to get into playoff mode. But like I said, I in the playoffs, I don't distrust LeBron. If he gets in, he usually makes the finals. And until I'm proven wrong for the most part on that, I'm going to ride that horse until that Clippers series, which I believe it'll come down to. But a lot can happen between now and then. And but I'm going to take the Lakers to win in 6. That's my prediction with that. I think Dame will steal a couple games, but I think the Lakers overall. I think Anthony Davis, who's struggled a little bit, will get his game going, and they'll take it in 6 games.
I think the Lakers have kind of lacked secondary scoring, bench scoring. Like Caruso's been decent, but other than that, they're missing Avery Bradley. J.R. Smith's been there.
Danny Green's been terrible.
Danny Green has been really bad. $20 million was it for the season?
I mean, he's throwing up like alley-oops to nobody. I don't know what some of that stuff is.
It's bad.
It's bad.
I don't know. Like I can't honestly look at the camera and say Portland's going to win the series. I don't want to do that. But still, I'll take the Lakers. But I think the Lakers win maybe even in 7 games.
Oh, it's going to go the whole thing? It's a possibility.
Because Portland has the size to match up with them with, like you said, Nurkic, and obviously you got Whiteside coming off the bench, right? And we were talking about this in the group chat. Trevor Reese is probably dying to get back into that bubble, right? He's trying to dress up as a chick just to sneak in.
Hey, it
wouldn't be the first time.
They earned their way through, and you got to give them full credit. And they're hungry, and Dame's at a high level. It's not going to be easy. Again, Portland can shoot the ball. I think Deion Waiters has been pretty good for the Lakers.
He has been, yeah.
So I mean that'll help definitely with the Avery Bradley situation there. But I mean overall, I think if LeBron and AD play their capabilities, they'll be a little bit too much for them. But good on the Blazers because I don't think a lot of people had them. San Antonio didn't make it out, and then that was a 20-year run pretty much. Yeah. So I mean they earned
Phoenix.
it. Phoenix went 8-0. Was the best team in the bubble. And truthfully, they probably deserved the shot to get in there, but because of the Memphis was so bad, because of the lead that Memphis had going into the standings, it really hurt that. And I would have loved to see Devin Booker and Lillard go off in one game.
That would have been crazy. Yeah.
That would have been a crazy game, but it is what it is. And yeah, so Lakers in 6 for me, and you guys got it in 7.
The thing I was gonna say about the Lakers, I remember you triggered. I remember the ones you said. Guy they got from Miami was his name? Waiters. They really don't have anybody that can create their own shot other than Davis and LeBron, right? Like Rondo can help some guys. He's not back yet.
Kuzma has got some big games.
Yeah. And he's actually been pretty good.
Yeah.
And even his defense has come around. But coming off the bench, other than I guess Kuzma, they're not very good.
Yeah.
Scoring points, like they're gonna struggle in the half court.
I think they need more from Caldwell Pope. They're gonna. I'm not a huge fan. I mean, Caruso gets brings some hustle. I'm not a huge fan of Caruso, but I mean, it's pretty much what they got going right now. But again, if you're expecting big numbers, I think Danny Green is bound to break out of his funk as long as he hits those open
hit the wide open threes. Yeah.
But yeah, he's been missing pretty much everything recently. So like he's got to step up a little bit. But if they get contributions, they should have enough. But like I said, and it's also one of those things where Portland put all their energy to making it to the playoffs. How much will they have left? There's a lot of games that are near back to back. They play a lot of basketball. Sometimes Well, the Lakers have been really relaxing for the most part, limiting minutes. Portland's been going full gear.
They've had 4 months off, but who knows?
But it's also in a short time span, so I guess we'll see how the fatigue goes with that.
Is that yeah? So okay. So Lakers in 6, Lakers in 7, LA Clippers, Dallas.
You know what? This is again. This was the series basically how it was even before I got into the bubble because everybody was so ahead of the eighth place team that no one was really gonna get thrown off. I thought Dallas might push a little bit ahead into sixth, but they weren't able to. This is a tough matchup. I think. You got Porzingis, you got Doncic can go off for again.
Hardaway's been good.
You have a situation where you have Dame on one series, you got Doncic, and the other teams are better as a whole. They have more depth, but the other teams have that superstar situation. And again, Kawhi and Paul George, superstars in their own right. But you know what? It's going to be a situation where if like Doncic might be able to steal some games there. I'm still expecting the Clippers to get their act together and win the series. But again, not a cakewalk. And again, it wouldn't even stun me if they lost the series. Which
really,
it wouldn't because
would it stun you if the Lakers lost series?
The way that I don't know if it would like anything in the West probably wouldn't stun me. The way that things have panned out, like if Portland came back and beat the Lakers with all the momentum, like I don't think people would see that as a huge miracle situation. It's not like that. I think it was Dallas Golden State 1-8. I think that was the last time that happened. That was a huge situation.
You know that you'd hear that forever from Lamar if that happened.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing.
Portland went to the West Finals last year.
If Dame averages a crazy 40, 50 points a game.
You know he's going to average close to 38 probably.
I mean, they're going to have to throw a lot at him and you're going to see how he plays. But it's one of those things that I can see a lot of these series going either way in the West matches because of what you've seen in the bubble. I think it's also one of those situations where, teams get hot. You've been off for 4 months. Like you can like in the East, I think it's a little bit more because there's certain teams that were pretty much, especially like when we get to the Raptors and the Bucks series, that the teams are a little bit, I would say, lower grade in terms of star power and what they're going to be doing as a team. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to take the Clippers in 6. But I'm not like if you had to bet the house on it, I wouldn't. But I'm expecting them to win the series.
Before I get into my pick, I want to talk a little about Dame versus Paul George and that little fiasco that it happened.
Yes.
Thoughts on that?
You know what? That got very, very personal, and I think, I think it goes back obviously that game-winning shot that Dame hit it on.
Paul George still crying about it. It was a bad shot.
It was a bad shot, and then the families got into it because the sister, Dame's sister, got.
Did she say something?
She did. She started mentioning about the whole the Doc Rivers and how Paul George did Doc Rivers' daughter, and then he got the stripper pregnant, and he's married to the stripper, and it got pretty heated. And which is again, I think truthfully, I think a lot of family members should stay out of like little beefs that they have on the court because a lot of these guys are friends and they'll talk.
I don't know if these guys are friends now though. They kind of crossed the line.
It was a little bit interesting for sure, and again, he definitely called out Paul George's
loyalty too.
Loyalty because he's moved teams quite a bit, and then that's the reality of things. He didn't stick around for OKC. I mean, I think Oklahoma fans were thrilled when he signed long term. We were all stunned because we thought he would go to LA.
Remember he had the barbecue in Russ's backyard? He's like, I'm staying.
And then the whole situation panned out where, and again, Paul has been rough in the playoffs.
That's another thing. He hasn't won a playoff series, I think, since like 2012.
And I showed you all that highlight reel. He gets the winning shots on him all the time, and he's
lockdown defender, right?
And he had like a montage of about 4 minutes of guys hitting clowns. Yeah, it's so he has a lot to prove. And I think the Clippers have a lot to prove because I assume that their chemistry would be a bit better than what it is, and they've been really up and down. And I don't think Kawhi is enjoying his first year there compared to. It seems like there was more camaraderie on the Raptors.
Oh,
team.
for sure. Yeah.
But there's also that whole situation where the guys were kind of mad that him and Paul George were getting special treatment and
you talked about
all
that
stuff. Yeah. So. I mean, again, in Montreal, hasn't really played a lot of games.
What's going on with that?
I mean, he's still out of the bubble with that whole situation. I mean, he had that personal issue. No one really knows what it was. I don't even know if he's. I think he's back.
Well, he was the first one that got busted for like bringing a girl into the bubble.
Yeah,
right? So like maybe he has to do something.
And then Lou Williams with the strippers at the
Magic City.
He was getting the chicken.
Wait, it's the chicken.
Wait, no, nobody believes that. Nobody believes you.
Oh my god!
I don't know, man. Again, I've never been to Magic City, but if I was going to a strip club, it wouldn't be.
You're not going for chow mein.
Yeah, I'm not going for the food. So, but again, maybe those wings are amazing. Who knows? But like, I've never been, so. But yeah, I think it'll be a tough series because I think Doncic is a.
See, Doncic is a killer for sure. But the only thing I was thinking of, they're missing the Canadian guy too towards Achilles,
Powell,
which is going to be a bit of a loss for them too. Obviously, not like a superstar type player, but he was starting pretty much at center for them. He's like a guy 6'10" that can hit threes and defend. And they just have guys like Kleber and JJ Barea, who's still like playing games for them. Seth Curry's been killing it, right? Tim Hardaway got shut him out, man. He's been playing crazy since he got there.
And the Porzingis will have a good size situation of dealing with Harrell and what's his face, the guy Zubac. Like again, they have opportunities.
That's going to be interesting.
It'll be actually serious.
Dallas has been pretty good too. I honestly can't not take the Clippers, but I do think there's some real upset potential for both LA teams in the first round.
For sure, and that's why it's not like the West is not a cakewalk for anybody in any of these situations. Which is, I don't think I remember with the Golden State dominance, you always thought the 1 versus 8 there were really no possibilities. I guess they swept. There were a lot of sweeps. I don't see any of that happening in any of these series. To be honest with you, I think they're all going to go long.
I think there could be one. But I guess
sweep.
Yeah. I think that, to be honest, Clippers inside of I think Portland has a better chance for the upset in the first round, just like you said, because Lane's just on another level right now.
Fair.
And Portland has so many guys, so much depth and size going against the Lakers. I think with the Clippers, even with Harrell out, if he is going to play, we don't really know. Yeah. I just think that Dallas not being at full strength, they have, I think, the best offense in the league, but I'm still going to go with the Clippers. If the Clippers were to lose this, what's Kawhi doing after this series is over? Is he getting on the first flight back to Toronto or what?
Well, like I said, he was smart with the contract that he signed, because he basically
gives him 3 years that he can opt out.
He had some kind of opt out in the situation. Like I would assume that you blame it on first year growing pains and the bubble and all the insanity that happened. But there's been other talk and I've seen it that and again we saw a little bit last year, but we didn't really talk much about it because Kawhi was unbelievable for the Raptors. That injury that he has on his leg
is pretty serious.
It's a serious situation, and you can see that it's definitely affecting his defense a little bit. He's not the same kind of guy with the way his range of motion is a little bit, from what I can see at times. I don't know what it is, obviously, but it's definitely something that may or may not be chronic. So again, he's I think a better offensive player in the last few years than what he's been, but his defense isn't what it was
last year.
At what point? Even
last year, I think he was definitely not the same, but still first team all defense.
First team all defense, but again, the nagging injuries and so forth. But
I don't even think he's 30 yet.
Yeah, well, again, all you need is one of those situations where it could be a chronic thing, like a family, genetics, who the heck knows, right? But you got to go with the Clippers to get it done, but it's going to be some good basketball, man.
All right, I'm going to move on to the one that I thought was going to be a sweep, and I guess I'll start it off. I think that Denver has a chance to get rid of Utah fairly quickly.
Oh, wow.
Jokic is looking skinny, looking lean. He's been incredible. They have so much size. Porter's been on a different level.
Yeah.
Michael Porter Jr. has been incredible. He took a lot of heat for his tweet. Remember with the police thing and all that stuff. But he's come out and he's come out incredible. Like a guy that's 6'10" that can shoot the three, defend, and pretty much do everything. Very athletic. They have a lot of size. I guess Murray's back now. Mm-hmm. He was out for a little bit, but Gary Harris has been terrible. I had him in fantasy, famously, and he's let me down. He's let Denver down. Bynum's been starting for them. He's been a better option. I just think that Utah without Bogdanovich are really going to struggle. Conley looks like he's barely an NBA player anymore, not a starter anymore. Sorry,
he's out of the bubble because he just had a kid, so he might not be able to play.
That might be a plus for them. They might win a game now.
Truthfully, I kind of disagree in the sense that I didn't see it as a super. I actually went kind of back and forward with it because, I respect what Donovan Mitchell and Gobert can bring, and if you look at just the way that playoff success has gone, I was pretty disappointed last year in what Denver did in the playoffs.
They lost to Portland in the semifinal in 4 overtimes or something. Was that the one?
I think they lost. No, I think they lost in Game 7, but I don't think it went to overtime.
So it was Game 6.
I think it was Game 6.
Because I remember Jokic played every overtime, and
I think they needed that game to get to Game 7. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not completely sold to trust them off of the first round. I'm taking them to win the series, but I think that one's going 7 because I can see.
Joe Ingles 7-up.
Well, not even Joe Ingles, but I can see that. I think Gobert will be a difference maker on defense, and I think Donovan Mitchell will be Donovan Mitchell, and I think that'll. And again, I think we had those same situations where we, for example, on those OKC teams, where we thought that they would be solid, and then Utah would bounce them regularly, right? So.
Oh, Russ and Paul George teams.
Well, again, last year technically was what they lost to Portland. but it was the year before that. Russ, remember that was the whole situation in Utah. The fans were
First round, yeah.
So again, I think in the bubble, it might be a little bit different because I think Utah, that home court advantage is significant, but they don't have it obviously. But in this situation, I'm still going to take the Nuggets, but in 7, I think it'll go a long series because Utah will pull off a couple of games at least.
The only thing with Utah, like I said, is not having Bogdanovich there. Some say he's a better scorer than Mitchell, but he's definitely probably on that same level. And he's a plus defender too. And I just don't know, like if Jokic starts shooting threes and bringing Gobert out of the paint, I just don't know what they're going to do defensively, right?
Fair point. Yeah, it'll be again. I just gotta see what exactly they bring in the playoffs.
Like I've always been a Utah guy. A lot of people picked up to go far in the playoffs this year, but I just don't think things have worked out. And like I said, you lose a guy that's going to score you 20 points a game. Sure, guys are going to pick up the slack. I don't think that they're actually going to sweep. I think it might be like 5 or 6 game series. But I would just say if there's one that's likely in all of the West ones, I think that Denver's the one.
Fair.
Houston, OKC. This one should be good because Chris Paul is going against his old team in Houston. We saw a lot of drama last year with James Harden, and that kind of followed that forced the trade.
So I'm going to go against the grain here, and I'm actually, and I never thought I would really say it, to be honest with you, because I didn't really expect much out of the OKC team this year. But I like them to win the series.
Hey!
I like them to win the series because one, I think Russ is going to miss the first game because he's out, he's injured with some kind of injury, which again puts them down a little bit for Houston. Overall, I just like the way that they play. They have a good complement of players. I think Paul's going to be hungry to prove that he had, because they basically threw him out of there for Westbrook, so he's going to be hungry to prove them wrong.
He might guard Harden. He might guard Harden and just get him on him.
Him and Harden didn't have the best relationship. And what are you going to get out of Harden? I don't know.
We know that he doesn't show up in the playoffs, really, right?
There you go, right? You don't know what you're going to get out of James. And James, again, is a phenomenal offensive player. And again, even his defensive stats have gotten significantly better this year. But like I said, I think that in terms of team chemistry, I don't know about this whole no center experiment and Covington being the big and PJ Tucker. I don't know if that'll work in the playoffs. And I think Adams will do well over there. Gallinari, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. They have a lot of good pieces that are going to cause problems, and I can see them grinding out the series, which would be another mark on James Harden once again if he's going to be able to make it in the playoffs. So this is basically the only upset I'm calling in the West. I'm going to take OKC in 6 games because I think that Paul's going to be massively hungry to prove that he wasn't done and they should not have gotten rid of him, and he's going to do everything in his power to get it done.
So OKC's favored by 1.5 first game. I'm just checking that out right now.
And that'll be because again, there's no home court advantage, right? So that'll be
Westbrook's out with a quadriceps injury.
Yeah, that definitely probably puts some points, or maybe Houston would have been favored by maybe 2 or 3. But I mean, at the end of the day, you would think even without Westbrook with Harden they would still be reasonably favored. But again, they settle a lot for those threes. If they're not clanking in those,
that's
threes,
what I was gonna say.
They're not winning the games. Because the rebounding and so they're not gonna. To me, they're not gonna be out there. They clank. If the three's not going for them, they're done for.
And I think they might have. I think Steven Adams might have a big series too.
Yeah,
because I just don't know who they're gonna throw at him, right?
Nerlens Noel, who's having some good. Again, he can get some boards. They're gonna pose a lot of problems. And I think this has the capabilities for OKC to pull it off, especially if Westbrook is playing through some neck. Because the games are going to come fast and furious. He's not going to have a lot of time to get through things. And if he's already missing a playoff game, you know that is probably pretty serious for the most part. So
Schroeder too is another guy that's been pretty solid.
Six man of the year, likely possibility there too.
They have a lot of speed with their guards, like you said, Shea. They have guys that can defend Shea and CP3. It's going to be interesting to see Harden and Chris Paul go at it because Chris Paul's a guy you don't really want guarding you because he's going to get aggressive, and he's a really good defender and a leader and all the things that James Harden, to be honest, isn't.
It's definitely good. It's good television.
It's good TV.
It's good TV.
It's good TV.
Very good TV.
And I'm going to side with you there. I think that OKC is going to take this series, and I think that Houston's worst possible first round matchup over the lower seeds, I think they have a better chance against Portland, Dallas, and Utah. I just think that their style of play versus those teams would be a better.
Because I would say OKC's probably has better defense.
Better defending. They can run with them. You know what I mean? They have a little bit of size to go with it. Whereas Utah's not the best shooting team, and they're kind of a bigger team. Dallas, the highest scoring team in the league, so that might be a bit of a tough one. And then Portland, right? Who knows? I know it's Lillard, but
yeah.
Houston's really won a lot of high-scoring games against teams like that. I just think that OKC is just a totally different style than anybody else that they would go against. So I'm going to go with OKC, and to be honest, if Westbrook's going to miss more than one game, I would not be surprised to see a 4 or 5 game series.
Oh, wow.
Which would be crazy. And like I said, Houston, if they would have had anybody else in the first round, maybe even Denver, they had a better chance. But if they go out early, like 4 or 5 games, that's going to be a lot of trouble for Morey and everybody else running the team, right? Because they had aspirations to go far.
Well, Morey's already in trouble with the NBA with his whole China comments. So I mean, but here's the thing. I mean, you can't really do much. Like those contracts that they have. I mean, the Westbrook one is a pretty big anchor. I mean, I don't know how much you'd be able to change. I mean, he rolled the dice with this whole like going small lineup. Got rid of Capella, who I liked as a player. I thought he was a useful player in there. Again, if the experiment doesn't work and they get bounced by an OKC team that not many people even had making the playoffs, it's a definite step back. That's for damn sure. So how many games did you say? Oh, 4 or 5?
I'll say 5. I don't want to say 4. I'll say 5 though. Yeah, I don't know. Like OKC's been incredible. Yeah, but I just think that maybe what they're going to do is kind of force everybody to take their shots, pressure them, maybe just go one-on-one with Harden and keep Adams back at the rim. And if, like I said, they don't have Westbrook, where are they getting these other points from? Right, especially in game 1.
Or Gordon.
Is Gordon back? I know he was injured. Like Covington guys, like Daniel House Jr. Like these guys are gonna get like 10, 15
PJ
points.
Might chip in a little bit.
PJ hits a few threes a game. I think like they're not gonna struggle to score because all they do is jack threes. But that being said, I just know someone's gonna really take over a game if Harden wets the bet again in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
That's really the thing. If Harden's gonna come with another stinger.
I don't know if there's anything you can really say anymore.
So I'll go OKC then in the West. We'll skip predictions going forward to the West. We'll visit those when they come. Take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll do the East.
Sounds good.
Raptors fans, get ready.